Time is the one thing you never get back, yet it is the one thing people waste the most without even realizing it. Let me speak to you plainly, not as a distant idea, but as a truth you can feel in your chest right now. Every single second that passes is gone forever. You cannot rewind it. You cannot buy it back. You cannot negotiate with it. And still, most people treat time like it is endless, like it is guaranteed, like it belongs to them by default. It doesn't. Think about your ordinary day. You wake up, and before you even fully arrive into your own life, your hand is already reaching for distraction. A screen, a scroll, a video, a message, something to pull you away from yourself. And you tell yourself it's just a few minutes. But those few minutes multiply. They stretch into hours. And those hours quietly turn into days you will never get back. Not because you lived them fully, but because you let them slip through your fingers without intention. And here is the uncomfortable truth most people avoid hearing. Nobody is stealing your time. You are giving it away. You give it away to distraction. You give it away to hesitation. You give it away to hesitation. You give it away to comfort. You give it away to comfort. You give it away to the belief that there will always be more later. But later is a dangerous illusion because later never arrives as a separate moment. It always comes disguised as another now. And if you are not disciplined in your now, you will not suddenly become disciplined in your now. You will not suddenly become disciplined in your later. That is not how life works. Look at the people who are ahead in life, not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They are not living in some different reality. They have the same 24 hours you have. The difference is not time. The difference is respect for time. They treat it like something fragile, something sacred, something that does not forgive waste. Now ask yourself honestly, how are you treating yours? Because there is a pattern that repeats in almost every wasted life. It does not happen suddenly. It happens slowly, quietly, almost politely. You delay one task, you skip one opportunity, you ignore one responsibility, and nothing seems to change in that moment. That is what makes it so dangerous. There is no alarm, there is no warning, there is only comfort. But comfort is not harmless. Comfort is persuasive. It whispers, you can do it tomorrow. It says you deserve a break. It convinces you that small delays do not matter. And for a while, you believe it. Until one day, you wake up and realize your life is not something you are building anymore. It is something you are watching pass by. And let me tell you something you already know deep down, but rarely admit. Your dreams are not waiting for your mood. Your goals are not waiting for your energy level. Your future is not waiting for your permission to begin. It is already moving. Whether you act or not, life is still going forward. So every time you choose delay, you are not standing still. You are actually falling behind. People think they lose time in big moments, major failures, huge mistakes, life-changing decisions, but that is rarely how it happens. Time is lost in the smallest ways. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, an hour gone without intention, a day wasted just relaxing, and then suddenly weeks turn into months. And months turn into years, and you look back wondering where everything went. And the hardest part is not the loss itself. It is the realization that you were present while it was happening, you saw it, you felt it, but you did not stop it. Now listen closely. There is still something powerful about you being here, hearing this, understanding this, because awareness is the beginning of change. But awareness alone is not enough. Knowing time is valuable does not change your life. Respecting it does. Acting on it does. Using it with intention does. You don't need more time. You need more honesty with the time you already have. Because if you look at your habits, they will tell you everything about your future. If your hours are filled with distraction, your future will be scattered. If your hours are filled with focus, your future will be powerful. There is no mystery here. There's only choice. And maybe you have been waiting for a sign, waiting for a moment that feels right, waiting for motivation to arrive like a rescue. But the truth is, nothing is coming to save you from wasted time. No one is going to come and organize your hours for you. No one is going to suddenly make you disciplined. That responsibility sits entirely in your hands. Right now, this very moment, you are either investing your time or spending it. There is no neutral ground. Even doing nothing is a decision with consequences. Even delaying is a direction, and every direction leads somewhere. So ask yourself, if your time is truly your life, and it is, then what exactly are you building with it? Comfort is a strange thing. It feels like safety, but it behaves like a slow cage. And most people don't even realize when they step inside it, because it doesn't look like a trap. It looks like peace. It looks like rest. It looks like, finally, I can relax. But if you stay there too long, that same comfort that once felt like relief slowly starts to become the reason you stop growing. Let me speak to you directly. There is nothing wrong with rest. There is nothing wrong with taking a breath, stepping back, recovering your strength, but there is a dangerous difference between rest and residence. Rest is temporary. Comfort becomes permanent when you stop challenging yourself. And the moment comfort becomes your lifestyle, your potential starts to shrink quietly without warning. You don't feel it at first. That's the problem. Comfort doesn't attack you. It doesn't break down your door. It invites you in. It tells you you've worked hard enough. It says you deserve to take it easy, and you believe it because it sounds reasonable. It sounds fair. But while you are listening to that voice, your discipline is getting weaker. Your ambition is getting quieter. Your hunger is slowly fading. Think about how easy it is to choose what feels good right now instead of what builds your future. That is comfort in action. It doesn't demand effort. It doesn't ask you to struggle. It only asks you to stay where you are. And staying where you are feels safe because there is no risk, no pressure, no discomfort, but there is also no growth. And here is something most people never accept. The life you want is not found inside comfort. It is found outside of it. Every level of success, every level of strength, every level of personal transformation exists just beyond what feels easy. But comfort convinces you otherwise. It whispers that you are fine as you are, that you don't need to push today, that tomorrow will be better suited for effort, that tomorrow will be better suited for effort. And slowly, without you realizing it, your standards start lowering. What once felt unacceptable becomes normal. What once felt urgent becomes optional. What once felt agreeing becomes something you only think about occasionally between distractions. And the most dangerous part is not that comfort stops you from working. It stops you from even wanting to work. It doesn't just delay action. It weakens desire. It replaces hunger with habit. It replaces urgency with delay. It replaces vision with routine. Look closely at a life built on comfort. It rarely collapses suddenly. It fades slowly, quietly. A person stops challenging themselves. They stop learning new things. They stop taking risks. They stop doing anything that makes them uncomfortable. And they tell themselves they are stable. But stability without growth is just stagnation wearing a polite name. Now, I want you to imagine something. Imagine two versions of yourself. One version chooses comfort every day. That version avoids difficulty, avoids pressure, avoids anything that feels hard. And the other version chooses discomfort on purpose. That version wakes up early even when it's hard. That version pushes forward when motivation is gone. That version does things that feel uncomfortable because it understands something powerful. Growth always feels uncomfortable at first. Now ask yourself honestly, which version becomes stronger after 1 year? Which version becomes sharper? Which version becomes more capable? And more importantly, which version becomes proud of the life they built? Because comfort always gives you peace in the moment, but it steals your progress in the long run. And discipline does the opposite. Discipline feels heavy in the moment, but it builds a life you can respect later. There is a reason most people stay stuck. It is not because they are incapable. It is because comfort keeps convincing them that they don't need to change yet, and not yet becomes weeks. Weeks become months. Months become years, and suddenly time has passed, but nothing inside has truly evolved. You have to understand something important here. Your mind will always choose the easiest path unless you train it not to. That is human nature, but greatness is not built on nature. It is built on decision. It is built on choosing what is right over what is easy, even when everything inside you resists it. And yes, discomfort feels like resistance, but resistance is not your enemy. Resistance is not your enemy. Resistance is proof that you are moving in the right direction. Every time you feel that internal pushback, that hesitation, that urge to stop, that is not a sign to quit. That is a sign you are leaving comfort behind. The truth is, comfort will never announce that it is holding you back. It will disguise itself as peace. It will disguise itself as balance. It will disguise itself as taking it slow. But if you listen carefully, it is really saying, stay the same. And staying the same is the most silent form of falling behind. So the question is not whether comfort feels good. Of course it does. The question is whether you are willing to trade short-term ease for long-term strength, because every time you choose comfort over challenge, you are making a decision about your future self. Let me tell you something that most people misunderstand about success. They think it belongs to the highly motivated, the constantly inspired, the ones who wake up every morning feeling powerful and ready. But that is not reality. Motivation is not a foundation you can build a life on. It is a feeling, and feelings change. One day you feel unstoppable, the next day you feel nothing at all. And if your entire future depends on how you feel, then your future is already unstable. This is where discipline enters the conversation. Discipline is not emotional. Discipline is not romantic. Discipline is not exciting in the moment. Discipline is simply the decision to do what needs to be done, even whenever. Part of you is resisting it, even when your mind says later, even when your body says rest, even when your emotions are completely out of alignment with your goals. And I need you to understand this deeply. Every person you admire, every person you call successful, every person you think is lucky did not get there through motivation. They got there through repetition, through consistency, through doing things on days they did not feel like doing anything at all. Because motivation will visit you occasionally, but discipline will build your life daily. Think about your own experience. How many times have you felt motivated after watching a video, listening to a speech, or reading something inspiring? In that moment, everything feels possible. You make promises to yourself. You say, from tomorrow, I will change. And maybe for a day or two, you try. But then life returns. Energy drops. Interest fades, and slowly you go back to your old patterns. That cycle is not failure of intelligence, it is failure of structure. You are relying on emotion instead of system, and emotion is the weakest thing to depend on when building something strong. Discipline is different. Discipline doesn't wait for a good mood. Discipline creates action first, and motivation often follows action, not the other way around. You start working, and then you begin to feel focused. You start studying, and then your mind sharpens. You start training, and then your energy rises. Action leads, feeling follows, but most people wait for feeling first. And that is why they stay stuck. Let me ask you something honestly. How many times have you known exactly what you needed to do, but still didn't do it? You knew the task, you knew the responsibility, you knew the step forward, but you delayed it because you didn't feel like it. And that phrase, "I don't feel like it," has quietly destroyed more potential than failure ever has, because failure is loud, it teaches, it hurts, it forces reflection. But "I do it later" is silent, it feels harmless, it feels reasonable. But over time, it becomes a habit of avoidance, and that habit slowly becomes your identity. Now listen carefully. Discipline is not about being harsh with yourself. It is about being honest with yourself. It is choosing your future over your feeling. It is understanding that every time you break your own promises, you are not just skipping a task. You are weakening trust with yourself. And once self-trust breaks, everything becomes harder. Because if you don't trust yourself to follow through, then even your own plans start feeling optional. That is why discipline is power. It builds internal respect. It creates reliability within your own mind. It turns you into someone you can depend on, even when no one is watching. And here is the truth that most people avoid. You will not always feel strong. You will not always feel focused. You will not always feel ready. But disciplined people don't wait for those moments. They create structure that carries them through the moments when they are weak. They don't negotiate with excuses. They don't argue with comfort. They don't ask, "Do I feel like it?" They ask something more powerful. Does this move me forward or not? And if the answer is yes, they act. This is where transformation begins. Not in inspiration, but in repetition, not in motivation, but in commitment, not in waiting, but in doing. There will be days when everything in you wants to stop. Days when your energy is low, days when distraction feels stronger than purpose. Those are the real moments that define you, not the days when everything is easy, but the days when everything is heavy and you still choose to move, because discipline is not proven in comfort. It is proven in resistance. And I want you to picture something clearly. Imagine your future self watching you right now, that version of you who either succeeded or stayed stuck. That version is not asking about your intentions. They are asking about your actions. They are asking about your actions. They are asking whether you stayed consistent when it was difficult or whether you only worked when it was convenient. So when you think about discipline, don't think of it as punishment. Don't think of it as punishment. Think of it as construction. Every small action you take when you don't feel like it is building a stronger version of you. And every time you surrender to excuses, you are dismantling that structure piece by piece. You are either building trust with yourself or breaking it. There is no neutral ground, and this is the moment where everything becomes clear. You don't need more motivation. You need more repetition. You need more repetition. You need more follow through. Because your life will not change when your emotions change. Your life will change when your habits change. Let's talk about something that most people underestimate until it's too late: your habits. The small things you do when no one is watching, the choices that feel insignificant in the moment. Because I need you to understand something clearly. Your future is not shaped in one dramatic decision. It is shaped in quiet repetition. It is shaped in quiet repetition. You don't wake up one day and suddenly become successful. You don't wake up one day and suddenly become lost either. It happens slowly, step by step, choice by choice, habit by habit. And because it happens slowly, people fail to notice it until the results are already visible in their lives. Think about your typical day, not the version you tell people about, the real one. The one filled with routines you rarely question. You wake up, you reach for your phone. Before your mind is even fully awake, your attention already belongs to some Anything else. Notifications, videos, messages, distractions pulling your focus in different directions. And that pattern doesn't just take your time, it trains your mind, because every habit is training something inside you. Either discipline or distraction, either focus or fragmentation, either growth or stagnation. There is no neutral habit. Every repeated action is shaping a version of you, even if you don't notice it yet. Now, here is what most people miss. Habits don't just build your schedule, they build your identity. You are not just someone who occasionally wastes time. You are becoming someone who defaults to wasting time. You are not just someone who sometimes works hard. You are becoming someone who occasionally shows effort. And that difference might sound small, but over time, it becomes your entire life. Let me make this even clearer. If you repeat something once, it is an action. If you repeat it twice, it is a pattern. If you repeat it enough times, it becomes who you are. And once something becomes your identity, it stops feeling like a choice. It starts feeling like this is just how I am. That is the quiet power of habits. They don't ask for permission. They don't announce their consequences. They don't announce their consequences. They simply accumulate. And while you are busy thinking about big goals, big dreams, big changes, your habits are quietly building the foundation underneath everything. You can have the biggest vision in your mind, but if your daily habits are small, distracted, and inconsistent, that vision has nothing to stand on. People often say, I want to change my life. But they try to change everything at once. And when that doesn't work, they get discouraged. But real change doesn't start with everything. It starts with one habit, one decision, one repeated action that begins to shift your direction. You don't need a completely new life tomorrow. You need a bet. Pattern today, because if you look closely, your current life is not random. It is predictable. It is the result of what you've been repeating. And if you keep repeating the same things, you will keep getting the same results, no matter how much you wish for something different. Now listen carefully. The most dangerous habits are not the obvious bad ones. They are the small, unnoticed ones, the habit of delaying small tasks, the habit of avoiding discomfort, the habit of avoiding discomfort, the habit of choosing ease over effort, the habit of saying, I'll do it later, so many times that later becomes your default setting. And on the surface, none of it feels serious. You don't see immediate consequences, but slowly your standards begin to drop. What you once considered important starts to feel optional. What you once considered urgent starts to feel flexible, and before you know it, your life becomes a collection of postponed intentions. But here is the truth you need to hear. Your habits are always honest, even when you are not. You can lie to yourself about your potential. You can tell yourself you are capable of more. You can believe in your dreams. But your habits reveal what you are actually committed to, because commitment is not what you say, it is what you repeat. And I want you to think about something powerful. If someone observed your daily habits for just 1 week, no words, no explanations, just actions, they would be able to predict your future with surprising accuracy. Not because they are psychic, but because habits are patterns, and patterns always lead somewhere. So the real question is not whether you have habits. You already do. The question is whether those habits are building the life you want or quietly pulling you away from it. This is where change becomes real, not in dramatic moments, but in small corrections. Choosing focus instead of distraction once, choosing E for it instead of avoidance once, choosing discipline when it would be easier not to, and then repeating that choice until it becomes your new normal, because every powerful transformation in life starts quietly. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel extraordinary at first. It feels small, almost insignificant. But over time, those small actions compound into something undeniable. And one day you look around and realize your life has changed. Not because of one big moment, but because of thousands of small ones you finally respected. So when you think about your habits, don't underestimate them. They are not just routines, they are architecture. They are building you whether you are paying attention or not. Let's talk about something that most people only understand when it's too late. Regret. Not the kind of regret that comes from a mistake you can fix. Not the kind that teaches you and moves on. I'm talking about the deeper kind, the quiet kind, the kind that doesn't shout but stays with you. Because failure is loud. It gets your attention. It forces you to adjust, to learn, to rebuild. But regret is silent. It doesn't break you in a moment. It sits with you over time. It shows up when everything gets quiet, late at night, early in the morning, in those moments when there is nothing left to distract you from your own thoughts. And let me be clear about something. Nobody is afraid of failure as much as they say they are. What people are really afraid of is trying and not getting the outcome they expected. But even that is not the deepest fear. The deepest fear is looking back and realizing you never truly tried at all. Think about that. Not that you tried and lost, but that you stayed on the sidelines. That you watched life happen instead of stepping into it. That you had ideas, dreams, goals, visions, but you kept them locked inside your mind because, we're waiting for the perfect moment that never arrived. And now listen closely, regret doesn't begin in one moment. It begins in small decisions. The decision to delay, the decision to avoid discomfort, the decision to say, maybe tomorrow, and those small decisions build over time until one day you look back and realize your life is full of roads not taken. You see, every person carries two versions of themselves, the one they become and the one they abandoned. And regret is born when you meet the version you never became. When you see what you could have been if you had just acted differently, just a little earlier, just a little braver. And I want you to picture something. Imagine standing at the end of your life, looking back not at what you did wrong, but at what you never did at all. The conversations you never had, the risks you never took, the opportunities you watched pass by because you were waiting to feel ready. And in that moment, it won't be the failures that hurt the most. It will be the silence of unrealized potential, because regret is not about loss. It is about absence, the absence of effort, the absence of courage, the absence of action when action was possible. Now, here is something most people never accept. You will never feel fully ready for the things that matter most. If you are waiting for perfect timing, you are not waiting for opportunity. You are waiting for regret, because life does not announce perfect conditions. It gives you imperfect moments and asks what you will do with them. And the truth is, most people don't realize they are choosing regret while they are still living it. It doesn't feel like regret in the moment. It feels like regret in the moment. It feels like comfort. It feels like being smart or careful. But years later, that same caution turns into questions you cannot answer without pain. Why didn't I start? Why didn't I? Try harder? Why did I wait so long? And those questions don't come with solutions. They only come with awareness. And awareness without action becomes suffering. But there is another side to this, and I want you to understand it deeply. Regret is not inevitable. It is created, which means it can also be avoided not by perfection, not by luck, but by willingness. The willingness to act even when it is uncomfortable. The willingness to try even when success is uncertain. The willingness to risk failure so that you don't end up living in avoidance. Because one truth will always remain: you will never regret trying your best. Even if you fail, you will carry something powerful with you: experience, growth, strength. But you will always regret what you never attempted. Because silence in action becomes noise in memory. Now think about your current life. How many things are you postponing right now? How many ideas are sitting in your mind waiting for the right time? How many goals are you carrying without movement? And how long have you been telling yourself that you will start soon? Because soon is where regret is born, not in failure, in delay. And I want you to be honest with yourself. If nothing changes, if you continue exactly as you are right now, what version of your life are you moving toward? A life of action or a life of reflection filled with what if? This is not about pressure. This is about awareness. Because once you see regret clearly, you stop treating time casually. You stop treating opportunities lightly. You start realizing that every day you delay action is not neutral. It is a choice shaping your future memories. And here is the part that should wake something up inside you. The life you want is not disappearing because it is impossible. It is disappearing because you are not moving toward it. Regret is not built by what life denies you. It is built by what you refuse to attempt. So right now, in this moment, there's still space to change direction. There's still time to act. There is still a chance to choose effort over avoidance, courage over hesitation, action over delay. Let me tell you something that most people struggle to accept because it removes every excuse they have left. No one is coming to give you permission to build the life you want. No one is coming to tell you that you are finally ready. No one is coming to unlock your potential for you or hand you a clear sign that says, now is the perfect time. That moment does not exist. And I know that idea can feel uncomfortable because it removes the illusion that somewhere, someone else is responsible for your timing. But once you accept it, something powerful happens. You stop waiting. You stop hesitating, you stop looking outward for validation, and you start looking inward for responsibility. Because as long as you are waiting for permission, you are not living your life, you are postponing it. Think about how many people are stuck right now, not because they lack ability, but because they are waiting for approval. Waiting for confidence, waiting for the right circumstances, waiting for someone to say, go ahead. But life does not operate like that. Life does not send invitations to the people who are ready. Life responds to the people who move, and movement is the key word here. Nothing changes in a life that is frozen in hesitation. You can have talent, intelligence, ideas, ambition, but if you are waiting for everything to feel right before you act, you will stay exactly where you are. Because feeling ready is one of the most convincing illusions the mind creates to protect you from discomfort. Let me be honest with you. You will rarely feel ready for the things that matter. You will not feel ready to start that business. You will not feel ready to change your habits. You will not feel ready to step into uncertainty. And if you wait for readiness, you will turn your entire life into a waiting room. But the truth is, readiness is not something you feel. It is something you build through action. Every step you take creates a little more confidence. Every attempt builds a little more clarity. Every failure teaches a little more direction. Readiness is not the beginning. It is the result. And yet most people reverse it. They wait for confidence before action. They wait for clarity before movement. They wait for certainty before decision. But life rewards the opposite. Life gives clarity after movement, not before it. Now I want you to imagine something. Imagine two people standing at the same starting point in life. Both have ideas, both have dreams, both know what they want, but one of them is waiting for permission, waiting for timing, waiting for validation. The other one starts imperfectly, starts unsure, starts without guarantees. Fast forward 1 year, the one who waited is still preparing, still thinking, still planning. The one who started has already grown, adjusted, failed, learned, and moved forward. That is the difference between waiting for permission and taking responsibility. And responsibility is the turning point of every life, because The moment you accept that no one is coming, you stop living like a spectator and start living like a creator. You stop asking, is this the right time? And start asking, what can I do right now with what I have? And that shift changes everything because you already have enough to begin. Not enough to finish everything perfectly, but enough to start. And starting is the part most people avoid because starting exposes uncertainty. It removes excuses. It forces reality to replace imagination. But here is the truth. Everything you admire in others began in imperfection. Nobody started fully prepared. Nobody started with complete confidence. Nobody started with complete confidence. Nobody started with perfect conditions. They started anyway. And through action, they became, and that is what separates those who stay stuck from those who grow. Not talent, not luck, not timing. It is the willingness to act without waiting for permission. So when you say, I am not ready, what you are really saying is, I am not willing to be uncomfortable yet. And that honesty is important because it reveals the real barrier. It is not external, it is internal. And the moment you realize that, you also realize something else. You are not blocked by life. You are paused by hesitation. No one is holding you back. No one is controlling your pace. No one is deciding your limits. You are, and that means you also hold the power to change it. Because the moment you stop waiting for permission, you reclaim your power. You stop outsourcing your future to circumstances. You stop depending on perfect conditions. You start operating from what is possible right now, not what is ideal later. And that is where real transformation begins. Not in waiting, not in planning endlessly, but in stepping forward when everything inside you says to delay. And I want you to really feel this. Every day you wait for permission is a day you give your life away to hesitation. And every day you choose action without permission is a day you take your life back. So stop asking for a sign. Stop waiting for someone to unlock your potential. Stop believing that somewhere in the future, a perfect moment will arrive and make everything easy. Because the truth is simple and it is powerful. No one is coming. And that is not bad news, that is freedom. Because the moment you accept it, you finally understand that everything you want begins the moment you decide to move without waiting for anyone's approval.